Hey guys, today we are going to discuss whether people with, with science degrees or natural sciences degrees, people who are scientists or people with PhDs or engineering degrees are smart. Like whether only they are smart or whatever. Because I think we all tend to think like people that know a lot about science, people that know a lot about, let's say, physics or biology or engineering, stuff like that, or people that work, let's say, at the NASA or whatever are smart, or only people with PhDs or whatever are smart. Like we tend to put them in this like academic or intellectual like pedestal, and I have been feeling that like that too. I feel like we can all tend to think that we are less smart, right? But then if you think about it, what did scientists do? They studied science. Like, what makes them smart, what makes you think they're smart is the fact that they studied that. And they really just studied that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they have an IQ that is the same as yours and mine. But the only thing that differentiates them between you and I is the fact that somebody studied, let's say, chemistry or biology or biotechnology or chemistry engineering or chemical engineering. I don't know what you call it. Or whatever engineering. You know what I mean? Like, the difference between them and you and I, well, I don't know what you studied, but the thing is, what differentiates them from other people is the fact that they studied that. And this might sound really obvious, but like, for instance, people with PhDs, we tend to think like, oh, people with PhDs are really smart. I listen, especially since I went to college. I'm not saying like, okay, some teachers I've had are really dumb. Like, they are dumb because they didn't know how to explain things properly. They didn't know how to get their point across. Maybe they understood it very well, but they didn't know how to explain it well. Some teachers, you could tell that they would probably not understand what they were explaining really well. They were just memorizing what they were explaining to us. They probably didn't understand much further than that. You know what I mean? And these people have PhDs. Like, these people would have PhDs, or they can't calculate like mentally or whatever. I mean, some people are better at that, some people are worse at that. I'm not too good, not too bad, maybe. I don't know. But the thing is, like, the people who studied, for instance, a PhD, like, they did it. You know what I mean? They did what they had to do. You know what I mean? They went to college and then they did a master's degree and then they did a PhD. College degrees right now are usually 4 years. Who knows if they took, I don't know, 8 years to get that bachelor's degree? Who knows if they took 4 years to get that master's degree? Who knows if they took fucking 10 years to get a PhD? You know what I mean? They have a PhD, but maybe it was harder for them than it would be for somebody else who doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like when I was a kid, I used to think that only scientists were smart because the people that I admired, some of the people that I admired the most in the world were scientists. I had a crush on one of my science teachers. I was really interested in science. I would watch a lot of YouTube channels, like, for instance, Crash Course, SciShow, Ace of Science, Minute Earth, Minute Physics. Like, I was, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching a lot of that stuff, and I admired people like Hank Green and all these people, and like, you know, I tended to think that because I wanted to study business administration, I wasn't gonna stop studying it just because, like, oh, I only think that scientists are smart, so I'm gonna study that because I want to be smart. That would have been a mistake. I'm so glad that I was true to what I liked and what I wanted in my life. And I was like, I want something that no matter what happens in my life, I want it to be useful for me. So that's why I studied the BBA. But the thing is, I tended to think that I was stupid or I was less smart then, because in my high school they used to divide us in like branches. You know what I mean? There was art, there was human sciences, it was like languages and history and stuff like that, and then there were social sciences. Well, I kind of, I mean, there's a fine line between that because history is a social science, but anyway. And then there's social science where we had math and economics and geography and all this stuff, and then we had what was it? It was science. And then science was divided between, it was STEM, right? And then there was the part that was more like biology, medicine, whatever. And then there was, the technical part that was like, engineering and more like math, whatever, technology, whatever, or industrial technology, whatever. And so I tended to think that the people who were in STEM, who were in the STEM branch in high school were smarter. And people who were in the STEM branch, they would claim that they were much smarter and all that stuff. Like, oh my God, we're studying math that is more complicated than yours in social science. And we are doing biology and chemistry and all these things. I don't know if these people genuinely liked what they were studying because they would often talk about it or whatever, but I don't know if they would talk about it like to brag, like, oh my God, we're talking about this and that. And there were times where I would know stuff that they didn't know. Like, for instance, I remember they were asking each other, because they assumed that people like I didn't know that shit. even though I also studied science in fucking middle school. And they were like, are hormones like cells? Are hormones, are they cells? No, even I fucking know that. Hormones are not cells. Hormones are chemicals. Everything is made of molecules, but they are not living things. Hormones are just chemicals. They are molecules. That's it. Dopamine is a hormone. It's a chemical. The brain releases it. It's not a living thing. It's not a cell. It's not none of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, and adrenaline and estrogens and progesterone, all the things, and all of those things, there's molecules. They are molecules. I don't know to what extent they are molecules, macromolecules. I don't fucking know. But even I knew that those were not fucking cells. They're not alive. They're just chemicals that are released by the brain, by the ovaries, or by the what do you call it, the testicles, whatever, by the, you know, thyroid gland, whatever, you know what I mean, like the, what do you call it, the heart, I keep forgetting, but you know what I mean, like the hormone system, the endocrine system, you know what I mean, like even I knew shit like that, and they didn't know, and I was like, dude, I think I really had a passion for natural sciences, and I wanted to learn about those things, like genuinely, like on my own. I was like, I don't need to study science like in college to know about these things. I mean, there's so many videos you can watch on the internet, you know what I mean? And when I started college, I stopped watching those videos because I was so focused in like school, and everything was so hard and everything, that I completely forgot about it. One good thing about college was the fact that I forgot about all that stuff. Me thinking I was dumb or whatever because I was studying that was over. It was so hard for me. Like the difference between high school and college was so hard. And math was hard. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, you know what I mean, matching supply and demand, like equating two equations. Like, no, it wasn't just that. You know what I mean? Like, it was a lot. And I wanted to say that just because you're studying social sciences, it may be easier than studying engineering. It may be easier than studying medicine. It may be easier than studying, I don't know, pure math, right? But it doesn't mean it's going to be easier for everybody. You know what I mean? Like my dad, for instance, he studied engineering, and civil engineering, and he had classmates who would get all A's, all fucking A's. And then the moment they had an accounting subject, my dad got an A, and these motherfuckers, they didn't fail, but they didn't get that good of a grade. They were probably not as much into accounting as they were into engineering. My dad really liked that accounting subject, and he got a good grade. And accounting is not easy. I'm not saying it's hard. My professors say that it's easy. I don't think it's hard, but I don't think it's easy either. It's, you know what I mean? You have to pay a lot of attention. It's not hard, but you have to pay a lot of attention. And I'm not saying I'm like super good at it, it's so easy or whatever, because I'm not taking for granted that I'm going to pass all my subjects in accounting or whatever. And I've had accounting subjects that were hard. Like, for instance, cost accounting is a subject that I have struggled with, and I have a lot of friends that have struggled with, and they keep struggling with them because they have failed those subjects and they're still taking them. Anyway, but the thing is, for instance, like medicine or whatever, you know what I mean? You can find it easier if you really, really like it. For instance, I've never wanted to study medicine, so if I were to study it right now, it would be so hard for me because I don't even care about all the names of all of the bones and the muscles in the body. I don't care. Like, there are things that I care about. There are things that I, like, for instance, like for PCOS, like when I found out I had it, I was looking up everything about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that I know because I'm interested in those things, but I'm not interested in everything when it comes to medicine, right? So we tend to find things easier if we genuinely have a passion for those things. You know what I mean? So if there's any advice I can give you is do not study something because you think it's going to make you more satisfied with yourself, or more like because it's going to make you feel more accomplished because of how hard it is, quote unquote, how hard it is, you know? For instance, I had a lot of friends who, you know, you have to get a certain grade to get in certain degrees because they have a certain demand, and there's a lot of people who want to get in there. And my business administration and management did not have that high of a grade because not a lot of people were demanding it. Not because it was easy, but because not a lot of people were demanding it. I was like, well, I don't care how many people are demanding it. I don't care what grade they ask me to get. I'm going to try to get the best grade I can, and I'm going to get there. And then I had friends who were looking at, you know, degrees like, for instance, medicine. It was back in the day when we did the SAT, medicine was the one that had the highest grade. And there was one friend of mine who didn't know whether he wanted to study biology, medicine, something related to that. But he said for a long time he was saying he wanted to study biology. And biology had a high grade to get in there. And he ended up studying medicine. Like, he ended up starting a degree in fucking medicine because I don't know, I think it was the same day or the 2 days before like doing the SAT, he was like, no, I'm going to do medicine. Why? Because medicine had the highest grade. He wanted to prove to himself, and he wanted to prove to all of us who don't care at the end of the day, let's be honest, because no one cares at the end of the day what you do. He wanted to prove to all of us and to himself that he could get in medicine because it required the highest grade. It was the degree that required the highest grade. I was like, that's a terrible decision. That's a terrible decision. He was really scared of blood. He was really scared of needles. And he wanted to study medicine. I was like, well, I don't know. Remind me not to be my doctor, or not to ask you to be my doctor or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, do not perform any surgeries on me. Do not. But the thing is, I don't know if he's studying that anymore. I don't know. I don't know if he's studying that anymore. Probably not. Probably yes. Who knows? And then I had another friend who the following year, oh my God, I hope these people don't watch it, but, or not watching this, but he studied a double degree in math and physics. And I'm like, since when does he want to study math and physics? His true passions were law and history. You know what I mean? He liked politics a lot. He liked politics a lot. I think if you like politics, you should either study international relations, because that's, you know, where all that stuff happens. And a lot of people in international relations, like, they go to the events that politicians go to, and, you know, all of these things that politicians have to go to. So I would either study international relations or diplomatic relations. I don't know what you call it. Something related to diplomacy. Economics and law. I think law and economics are really important, because law is like everything. It's how the system is, you know, controlled. It's how the system is written. It's how the country works. You know what I mean? This is legal. This is not. You can do this. You can't do this. This is how things work. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of norms and all those things. And economics is perfect also, because that's how you find out how the country is doing as a whole. You know what I mean? If the country's doing well, if it's not doing well, what we should do to, you know, to reduce inflation, to make this thing happen, to kind of like reduce this recession or that recession, or to prevent another recession coming. You know what I mean? Like, knowing economics and knowing law is really important for that. You know what I mean? I was like, if his true passion is that, he also really, really liked history. Listen, just because you really like history doesn't mean you have to study it. Maybe you don't want to be a history teacher. Maybe you don't want to be a historian. Maybe you don't want to be whatever jobs you get as a historian, I think. Okay, but those were his real passions in life. But he studied, I think it's really, really sus that he studied a double degree in math and physics when his true passions were that. Those were the things that he was always talking about. Politics and history, not math and physics. He genuinely liked math and physics, but I was like, I don't know. He never talks about it. You know what I mean? I think he wanted to study it to prove to himself and to other people that, you know what? I'm a good student, and I got here. And I am here. I think those people are going to regret it one day. I think they're going to regret it one day, because you can study something because it's really cool, because everybody's like, oh my God, you're studying that. Yeah, what job are you going to get? What job are you going to get? You know what I mean? Like, accounting might be hard. Accounting might be boring or whatever. I like it. I personally like it. I find it boring at times, but it can be interesting depending on what you're doing, whatever. But the thing is, it gets me a job. Why did I study it? Because it gets me a job. Because I don't hate it. I like it. I'm genuinely interested in how businesses work, you know, and how to manage a business, how to administrate it. And, you know what I mean? Like, I love all of that. I love marketing, the idea of entrepreneurship. Like, I love all of those things. You know what I mean? Like, and how money works and all that stuff, like investments, whatever. Like, I like that stuff. Plus, it's going to get me a job. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was perfect. I'm not saying everybody should study this. No, study what makes you passionate. Study what you're passionate about. Why am I talking so weird today? Well, I talk weird every day. But the thing is, study something because you like it. And because you know it's going to get you a good job. Because if you're going to be a researcher, like, you depend on the state or other private companies on putting money on universities or other entities or other companies to actually research. You know what I mean? Like, your salary is not going to be a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I would have studied biology and these things if my parents had been millionaires and I really had a passion for these things. It's like, you know what? My parents are millionaires already. You know what I mean? I don't have to think about how to make money or how to sustain myself or whatever. I can study what I really, truly have an interest in right now. And if everything else fails, if I don't get a job related to that, if I don't get a high pay, it's fine, because my parents already have a lot of money. So I have that covered. I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? The thing is, you have to think about your future as well. Anyway, so oh my God, it's been almost 15 minutes and I haven't even, anyway. So what I'm saying is that going to college, I realized how hard a lot of things were and how it was not easy at all. You know what I mean? And I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you, but I apparently was the person out of my degree, out of the people in my degree who got the highest record. Like I don't know, I studied really hard and I didn't know that I got the highest record until they told me and stuff, and I won a prize and whatever. And they're gonna give us, I think there's gonna be a ceremony, I think next month or something, whatever. Anyway, so what I'm telling you this because it proves to me that okay, maybe I didn't study this or that are supposedly hard or whatever, but getting good grades, especially in college, is not easy. You know what I mean? It's not easy. And I think I've studied so hard and I have put so much effort and I've seen the results in grades, in things that I've achieved or things that opportunities that I've gotten, right? And I've seen this. And for instance, now I'm doing a master's degree, which I'm kind of doing against my will. I mean, you just have to do it. It's bureaucracy. It's just another paper that you need. But the thing is, like, doing the things that I'm doing, living the life that I'm living, I'm not academically frustrated. In fact, I'm studying more than I would like to. You know what I mean? Like if it was for me, I would have just done the bachelor's and that's it. Obviously, part of my brain is like, oh my god, what if I did a PhD or whatever? But then a PhD takes years. And being true to myself, do I really want that? No. Do I need it? No. I'm never say never. I might do it one day. I might get a PhD one day. I never discarded it. But what I'm saying is that you have to be honest with yourself. What do you really want in life? Do you really want that, or is it for your ego? Or is it just to say it? You know what I mean? Or to brag about it? You know what I mean? Nobody cares how smart you are or whatever at the end of the day. Everybody has their benchmark on what is smart and what is not smart. Some people think that only scientists are smart. Some people think that only, I don't know, teachers are smart. Some people think that only people with PhDs are smart. Some people think that only politicians are smart. Some people only think that business people are smart. Like CEOs or co-founders or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there was this person, I don't know who said it. I think it was Warren Buffett. No, I think it was one of his friends. I don't remember. I don't know who said it. But he's a millionaire. And he said, if Einstein was such a genius, then why didn't he get millions of dollars? You know what I mean? Like why didn't he become a millionaire? You know, I'm not a genius and I became a millionaire. He's a genius and he never became a millionaire. Like, as far as I know, he was always poor. You know what I mean? Like, who's the genius? You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that Einstein wasn't a genius or whatever, you know what I mean? He got help from other people, let's be honest, you know what I mean? Like Mileva, I don't know, whatever, like his cousin, she proved a lot of the theories that he came up with. You know what I mean? He came up with a concept like, what if this was that? Or what if this was the answer to that? But he didn't know how to prove it mathematically. She did it. You know what I mean? I'm just saying this for, because I feel like it needs to be known and nobody really talks about it. Anyway. The thing is, you can be smart in your own way. You know what I mean? You can be really good at science, you can be really good at math, you can be really good with money, you can be really good at, I don't know, selling yourself and selling your product and literally becoming a millionaire without knowing anything about money. And you're just good at selling yourself and you just know how to be liked by people. There's so many ways of being smart. There's so many ways of, you know what I mean? Of being, let's say, intellectually successful. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like content creators. A lot of people criticize them. Or a lot of people think that entertainers are stupid. Like comedians or singers or actors or whatever. And it's like, all of that is intellectual work. You know that, right? Like, all of that is intellectual work. You know, an accountant is doing intellectual work. And a lawyer is doing intellectual work. I think lawyers don't get a lot of credit. And economists, like, economics is hard. I took economic subjects. It's hard. And law, I took law subjects, but they were less hardcore. Law is hard. So what I'm saying is that you can be smart in your own way. Do not compare yourself with people that have PhDs or people that did science or whatever. Just ask yourself, what do I truly actually like and what do I want to do? And try to, let's say, feel accomplished in those, in those paths, in those fields, right? Do not care what other people think. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what people's benchmark of who's smart, who's dumb is, So just do your thing. Don't care what other people think. If you're doing something, do it for you. Do it because you really, truly want it. Not for your ego, right? I mean, you can do stuff for your ego. I'm not saying you can't. But the thing is, try not to follow your ego too much. Because you're probably going to get lost a little bit. So yeah, that was my rant of the day. Sorry this video was a little bit longer than usual. And I'll see you next time. Bye.